Hello, this is John Miko, and this is a lecture in lieu of our class on Friday, April 8th. So what the file I'm starting with is 11.1, left off on April 6th. You can see up here in the title. I'll send that out with this video so you all are starting in the same place as me. And if you recall, what we're working on in Module 11 is pivot tables. And we're taking a file, this motels table basically, and analyzing it a whole different whole bunch of different ways. So doing things like looking at it by location. We're going to look at it by seasonal occupancy, and the things we learned with pivot tables so far. And I'm just going to click on this to go through some things. In the design tab, I can control. Where if we show subtotals and grand totals, we can control layouts, banded rows, styles, all of those good things. We also learned that we can filter and sort. Remember, filtering and sorting are two of the reporting tools. The third thing that we learned was we could do grouping. So we grouped months into in-season months and out-of-season months, and that's what we see here, because showing it by every individual month was maybe overkill for our purposes. We also grouped by, so that was a text grouping, if you will. We also grouped by dates. If you remember the weekly occupancy, we took a date and then we said, hey, let's group it by every 7 days. So then we have weekly occupancy. And then we also grouped numbers. So this was the size of the motels, and we grouped it by rows of 40. So we did grouping of text fields, date fields, and also numeric fields. The next thing we learned in this module was how about doing calculations instead of just looking at at measures. Let's look at things like ranks. Okay, so this was, instead of just showing occupancy rank, we went to field settings and we did show value as, and we said as a rank. We've also done show value as row total, column total. Those were kinds of things that we worked on in class. So we're still going to work on this show value as. We're going to do something a little bit different. So let's go to the revenue growth, which we have nothing in. That's going to be a brand new model for us. And we want to see revenue growth by hotel, by motel, I guess it is, year over year. So I'm going to drag motel name to the rows. I'm going to drag years to the columns. I'm going to drag revenue to the values. And let's make this better. Let's call it total revenue in the field settings. Let's make it look like money. And once again, we're talking millions. We don't care about pennies, so 0 decimal places. So what we really want to do here is we want to look at this year over year. We know, like, for example, the Bellevue Inn went from 1.5 million to 1.545 million. So it looks like it went down year over year. Looks like Brookings Inn went down as a percentage year over year. And I could certainly do a calculation for that. But I'm going to use the field settings for that. So I'm going to, once again, drag revenue below total revenue. Okay, and it says sum of revenue. And this is redundant in this case, but I'm going to display this differently. So I'm going to click the drop down by sum of revenue. And I'm going to go to value field settings. And I'm going to go to show value as. And this time I'm going to say as a percentage of difference from. Okay, so I want to show this value as a percentage of difference from some value. Well, what value? I'm going to say the thing I want to show it as a difference of the year value in 2020. So I'm going to say whatever this value is, what is the difference between it and the revenue value for the year 2020? Now, obviously, when I compare 2020 revenue to 2020 revenue, there is no difference. It's going to be a 0% difference. So this column isn't going to be very, very good. This column, though, is going to compare this 1.545 million to the 1.55 million and show us a negative percentage. Let's go to number format. Okay, it's already percentage. That's good. I'm going to click OK. Click OK. And now we see that because these are all zero, it's implied, they're blank. And overall, our revenue went up 1.29% at our hotel, at our motels. But it went down, it's some, I don't know what the hell happened to Lincoln Motel, but the Lincoln Motel went down 18%. Looks like, the Kearney Inn did very well year over year. Looks like the Scott Bluff and Rapid City Inn also did all right. Now, one of the issues is, and let's change this, the sum of revenue. That's probably not a very good name for that field. So let's say percentage change in revenue. Okay, that's a better title. And this column D, is blank, and it's kind of confusing to the reader because we're comparing 2020 to 2020, which adds no value. I really can't get rid of it. The way the pivot table works is it's going to create that field for every category in the columns, but I can't hide it. So if I right-click on column D and I click hide, that goes away, and now I have the revenue for 2020, for 2021, and I'm seeing the percentage change in that revenue and the total revenue. In this case, I'll tell you what, I think this is kind of unnecessary. I'm going to turn off the grand totals, and I think now this kind of shows me. Let's turn on grand totals for columns only, so we can see overall what happened. But I don't think it adds much value in the rows. Okay, so this kind of tells us a story by motel, what has happened. Now, pivot tables are very nice, but we can also combine those with things that we learned earlier. For example, we learned conditional formatting, and what's nice about conditional formatting is the formatting is based on what value is in the cell, so I don't have to go through and change it if something changes. So I'm going to I'm going to use this revenue growth, and I'm going to create a conditional format for this to kind of make it pop so I can see the values. So I'm going to go up to conditional formatting. I'm going to say new rule, and I'm going to say I want to apply this rule to all cells showing percentage change in revenue values. Okay, so not just the selected cell, not the F1 I'm on. I'm gonna look at it as a group. I'm gonna say all the cells showing the percentage change in revenue. I'm gonna use an icon. So we're gonna do a couple different things, but this first one, I'm gonna use an icon set. So an icon is a kind of an emoji, if you will. Just a little graphic that says what's happening here. And one of those graphics is, the stoplight. Green, very good. Yellow, and red, not so good. There's also, X's and checks and that color scheme. So you can see it spin down through here. This is, the shades of how much. There's down arrows, up arrows. All those types of things. I'll tell you what. I'll just stick with the standard, and I don't need to reverse these because green is good, like percentage change is good. Now by default here, this is a percentile, so it's saying if I just roll with this, it's going to say things in the 67th percentile of these values gets green. Things in the 33rd percentile get yellow. Anything below that gets red. So might as well do it. No, I'm not going to do it. I'll do it. Click OK. So the problem is we see yellow in, obviously this is kind of an outlier, so it's the only one that's red, but there's, negative 8% is also not good, but it must not be in the top 33rd percentile of badness. So I'm going to kind of change this. I'm going to go to manage rules, and let's edit this rule. And instead of doing it by percentiles, I'm going to specify the numbers. I'm going to say, you're good if you're over 2%. Okay, so I'm going to say anything over 2%, and that's a number, and it's a percentage. It's 0.02. Okay, I'm going to say, hey, things aren't great. They're okay, but anything greater than 0, right? I had some growth, but maybe I didn't keep up with inflation, is yellow. Okay, and anything below 0%, that's not good, right? My revenue went down, and that's going to get and that's, these are predicated, these values over here are predicated off of what I put in here. So I click OK, I click apply, click OK, and now you see anything that's negative has that red arrow. Anything over 2% growth is getting that green icon, and anything in the 0 to 2% range, and this kind of draws my eye to that pretty quickly. So we can do icon sets. Let's go back to manage rules. We'll go back and edit this rule again. We can also do, and I don't know if we've done much of this, but we can do a 3-color scale bar. And once again, this is set up by percentile. So you'll see anything in the midpoint. So this is called a diverging bar, meaning it's a spectrum, and where the value is the color. So if it's the highest value, like the 99th percentile, it'd be a darker green. If it's a very low, like the first percentile, it'd be a low red. If it's kind of in the middle, it's going to get a yellow. I'm going to, instead of using this percentiles, I'm going to say the highest, the midpoint, and I'm going to use a number here, and I'm going to say 0.02. Okay, so the maximum is the highest value. I like that. The reddest is the lowest value. I like that. I'm kind of changing the middle. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Apply. And now we see, the green obviously are the good values, and the red are the negative values. And you might ask, well, which one do I use? That's the beautiful thing about presenting data. That is your choice. It is, I can teach you the tools, but it's as much an art as it is a science. And you may say that I think this draws the reader's attention to the negative values and the positive values much more. So I'm going to go with this approach. Once again, that is kind of your call. So I am going to kind of stop there. I'm going to record a lot of mini videos, and the next video that I'm going to record is going to be on creating calculated items and calculated fields. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save this one as npx, I don't know, 11 after video 1. Okay. All right, so I will be preparing another video.